Writers have long had a familiarity and fascination with graveyards. Places of the dead haunt the pages of our most famous novels, but the most enduring amalgamation of biography and burial comes from an 18-year-old literary genius. In the author's note to the 1831 edition of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley ruminates on the birth of her novel. She identifies her husband's pressure to see her write, the literary company around her, new theories about the principles of life, a collection of German ghost stories, and the famously dreary summer of 1816 along with the contest it facilitated, as inspirations for her first novel. Shelley sees the combination of these parts as her crucial creative moment. Innovation, it must be humbly admitted, does not consist in creating out of void, but out of chaos. The materials must, in the first place, be afforded. Interestingly, Shelley specifically states that her childhood was not one of the materials afforded out of the chaos she put towards her invention, at least not in a biographical sense. I did not make myself the heroine of my tales. Life appeared to me too commonplace an affair as regarded myself. I could people the hours with creations far more interesting to me at that age than my own sensations. What Shelley failed to predict was that her life, particularly her childhood and teenage years, would fascinate scholars for centuries to come. Mary Shelley's early familiarity with the graveyard is the fuel from which Frankenstein burns. Though they share a name and profession, Mary Shelley never knew her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin, who died shortly after giving birth to her. Guilt-ridden and fascinated, Shelley haunted Wollstonecraft's grave. There, the young Mary would read the writings of the person she never got to personally know. As the feminist theorist Sandra Gilbert sees it, Mary Shelley's only real mother was a tombstone. The place of the dead would continue to loom over Shelley's life. Tradition affirms that Mary and Percy Shelley first declared and consummated their love for each other in a graveyard. All of these themes of birth, death, and love coalesce in the story and characters of Shelley's masterpiece. Like Shelley, Victor Frankenstein, whom she notably labels an artist of odious handiwork, has a close connection to the graveyard. Both Mary and Victor lose their mothers early in life, and perhaps that's why Victor's eulogy for his mother is one of the most moving passages in the novel. I need not describe the feelings of those whose dearest ties are rent by that most irreparable evil. The void that presents itself to the soul, and the despair that is exhibited on the countenance. It is so long before the mind can persuade itself that she, whom we saw every day, and whose very existence appeared a part of our own, can have departed forever, that the brightness of a beloved eye can have been extinguished, and the sound of a voice so familiar and dear to the ear can be hushed, never more to be heard. But the eulogy is for who is lost, not what remains. Victor, the pragmatic natural philosopher, takes a Diogesian view of the corpse. He boasts, "A churchyard was to me merely a receptacle of bodies deprived of life, which, from being the seat of beauty and strength, had become food for the worm." But this misinterpretation will haunt him for the rest of the novel. Long before the creature opens his eyes, the reader senses that the material from which Victor molds him is itself a violation against nature. With unrelaxed and breathless eagerness, I pursued nature to her hiding place. Who shall conceive the horrors of my secret toil as I dabbled among the unhallowed damps of the grave, or tortured the living animal to animate the lifeless clay? But death will force Victor into respect. Gradually, the animated corpse brings death to nearly all of Victor's loved ones. Broken and prepared for his own death, Victor visits his family's resting place, but this time he affords the graveyard reverence. As night approached, I found myself at the entrance of the cemetery where William, Elizabeth, and my father reposed. I entered it and approached the tomb which marked their graves. Everything was silent except the leaves of the trees, which were gently agitated by the wind. The night was nearly dark, and the scene would have been solemn and affecting even to an uninterested observer. Victor's new view of death goes beyond somber symbolism. He feels the spirits of the departed around him. No longer a receptacle for worms to feast in, the graveyard has become ethereal, haunted, and efficacious. Victor kisses the earth that houses his murdered family's remains and swears by thee, O night, and the spirits that preside over thee to destroy his creation. Victor is brought low by the corpse. He learns at the foot of his loved ones' graves an ancient wisdom. Let the dead rest in peace. Hope you enjoyed that video. Please consider subscribing to see more videos about Frankenstein, other novels, and all things literature. Thank you so much for watching. Happy reading.